Hello, welcome back. Let's talk about patterns again. And not every pattern has meaning. What does that mean? Can I say something that might feel uncomfortable? Not every pattern you notice has meaning. So, like when I was young, I was in elementary school. I used to take ballet classes. And in ballet, they had us do different exercises, foot exercises, first position, second position, twirling, going across the floor, things like that. And then they had us do stretching. And then one of them was to do the stretch to get into a split or to be able to like really be able to spread your legs really wide and do a split. And I was not happy about doing splits because just didn't feel comfortable doing it, didn't like it. And it was very hard for me. And then another thing was footwork. Memory was not great with doing footwork. And I felt like I was really bad at it. And so I concluded that I'm not good at this because every day I was the slowest and it was hard. And I thought that because it's hard, that means I'm not good at it. And that's the meaning I gave myself and concluded that I am not good at this. And I just gave up. And I ended up leaving dance. I ended up leaving ballet after a couple of months. Maybe I think I was doing it for about a year or so, a couple months. And I just gave up. And then after I was done, the teacher told my mom, she was like, "Oh, why did she stop? She was doing really well." And I was like, "That's what she said?" I asked my mom, I was like, "Really? That's what she said?" She said, "Yeah, they were going to promote you to the next level." And I was like, "What?" I was shocked. I was really shocked. I was like, I thought I was so horribly bad. And they were saying that I was doing well enough to go to the next level. And from then, I was so shocked that it felt so bad. Like I felt embarrassed about myself being such a bad dancer, but they thought that I was doing pretty well. And it surprised me because I thought I was doing horribly. I thought I couldn't do a split all the way like other people. I thought I kept messing up my footwork and I wanted to get it right. And they were saying, "You were doing good enough. You were good enough." And that really encouraged me. And so I always remembered it from then that even though something feels hard and even though something feels like you're doing bad, you're not as bad as you think you are. You're trying. And trying is sometimes all you need to do. Sometimes just showing up is half the battle. And I was showing up. I did. And surprisingly, it surprised me, and it really changed my thinking about doing hard things. And I appreciate that I quit because I quit with the feeling of satisfaction and knowing I don't want to do this anymore and being resolved about it. But then I quit with the knowing that even though it was hard, I was good enough to go to the next level. And that really encouraged me for a lot of years after and encouraged me to realize though that even when something is hard, it's still you still trying is enough. Like you showing up is enough. And that really helped me get through nursing school, especially because nursing school is very hard. And when I was in school, I was like, man, this is a struggle. I didn't know sometimes if I was going to make it. And certain classes, like I was barely like passing a test. And I was like, oh man, I got to pass the next one and really get really good grades. I got to bring up my average. And it was a struggle. And every time I was so scared, oh man, this is really hard. I prayed and faith really helped me get through nursing school. And I knew it was hard and I knew God would help me. But I was just like, how am I going to make it? But I always remembered how hard it was in ballet class. But the teacher said, you were almost going to go to the next level if you stick around. And I didn't stick around. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep pushing because even if it's hard, I know that maybe, just maybe, I'll be able to go to the next level and get through this. So even though it's hard, I realized hard doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that it's hard. It's going to be hard. It's just new. So even though something could feel uncomfortable, that doesn't mean that you're failing at it. And so that's why not every pattern is the meaning that you give it. Not everything is as you think it should be. And sometimes when things get tough, the tough get going and you just keep going. And I'm just going to say that not every pattern you notice, like thinking that you're bad at something or thinking that something's not working, is as you think it to be. It doesn't mean what you think it to mean. And so I used to think if I don't do things perfectly, it's not a success. But sometimes that could be very catastrophizing. That could be very like all or nothing, which is not good. That's not a good way to think about life. It's not always black and white. It could be a little bit of gray. Sometimes you just have to do a little bit more work or just keep going. I used to think that if something kept happening, then that meant I should stop. If it keeps being hard, I should stop. I shouldn't keep going. If I keep messing up, I shouldn't do this anymore. And sometimes that is the case. Sometimes if you just keep failing at something, is okay, when are you going to give up? You're not going to beat the dead horse. You're going to just stop. But sometimes it's just that one step further that gets you over to the breakthrough. And you could be one step to your breakthrough and you give up right before the breakthrough is, you just almost had it, you almost made it, but you didn't know. And so you have to change the way things mean things, like thinking, this is the time where I have to give up. It may not be the time to give up. It may be the time to push forward or lean in a little bit more. And so not every pattern, when it's hard, when it seems like it's going wrong, doesn't always mean that it's bad or it's not working. And there could be a deeper reason for why it's hard. Maybe you just have to put in the reps. In the hospital, we talk about how patients, like they get deconditioned from laying in the bed all day. And so they have to get PT and OT and they have to do therapy. They have to walk again. They have to get practice. And sometimes laying around, your muscles get weak. They're not being used. And so when you don't use it, you lose it, as they say. So that's the common thing. If you don't use something, you lose it. But when you repeat something and you practice something, you get better at it. It's like exposure therapy. The more you avoid something, the more afraid you'll be of it. But the more you confront it, the more you can confront it next time. And you do it again, and you do it again, and you get better. Like wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. You get better. You rinse and you repeat. You rinse and you repeat. And you just keep doing it and you get better. And it might not feel good in the time, like Karate Kid, like he's wax on, wax off, doing something that doesn't seem to make sense. You're just doing a pattern, wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. What are we doing? What is the point of this? What is the point of wax on, wax off? But in the end, after you've been wax on and wax off, you realize you could wax on and wax off and do karate all of a sudden, right? Like it's the same basic movement. And so sometimes just learning the basics seems like it's boring, mundane, trivial, but sometimes the basics is what you need to do advanced. And so sometimes even just like nursing school, you're learning the basics of all the body systems and it seems like a lot. But in the end, when you become a nurse on the floor and you could put two and two together and realize when a patient is not doing well or something's going south, you can think quick and think, okay, why is this happening and what's causing it? And you can put two and two together and figure out a plan of action and how to handle it. And that's what doctors do. They learn the basics and then they can handle more complicated cases. And so it's not always as you think. Something simple may seem simple, but it's more complex later on. And so there's a deeper reason. And so just because something seems like a sign or seems like it's telling you something or it's connected to something, it's not always the meaning that you give it. And so I had to realize that. I had to realize that a pattern could just be a repetition. It could just be the environment. It could just be the exposure. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And it doesn't have to mean anything about me or my capabilities. And when you're in a certain space every day and you're going to see certain things more often, and when your mind is already focused on something, it will highlight. So if you highlight to yourself, this is not working, then you're going to think everything is not working. But if you think it's coming together, it's coming together, it's coming together, then it will come together because it's just the way you see it. And the way things come to you, you could see it in whatever way you want. You could visualize it however you want. And I think we do this. We want to find meaning. We want the answers. We don't like uncertainty. We don't like randomness. We don't like things just happening. And we want to try to connect the dots. We want this to mean this. We want 1 + 1 to equal 2. And sometimes we don't always get clear answers. And sometimes the dots aren't always actually connected. But this is something that you could think. There's nothing wrong with finding meaning, but there's a difference between creating meaning and assuming causation. So you could create meaning and say, oh, this means this, but you can't say this is going to cause this. So if you ever felt like, why does this keep happening to me? Am I always bad at this? Or why don't people respond to me the way I want them to, or whatever the case may be, you could pause and ask, is this a pattern or just something you are seeing more clearly? Because not every pattern is a message about you or the situation. Some things are just you being aware. And that's all there is to it. So think about it.